If you ever find a road that doesn't appear on your GPS, don't take it. If every map says the road doesn't exist, turn around, and if that road leads to a town nobody has ever heard of, leave immediately. Don't stop, don't explore. Don't stay after dark, because some places aren't abandoned, they are waiting. Years later, Tyler Bennett still refuses to drive mountain roads at night. He refuses to take shortcuts. He refuses to trust old paper maps, and whenever he sees a road that shouldn't be there. He remembers Black Hollow, the town that wasn't on any map, the town where every clock stopped at exactly 3:17 p.m., and the night something inside those empty houses started waking up. This is Tales of the Dark. And this is the story of the town was missing from every map. The summer of 2021 was supposed to be a simple road trip, nothing paranormal, nothing mysterious, just 4 college friends driving through Colorado before the fall semester started. I was 22 at the time. My best friend Jake was driving. Our other friends, Marcus and Olivia, were packed into the back seat with enough snacks to survive an apocalypse. The plan was simple: drive through the Rockies, camp for a few days, take pictures, head home. For the first 2 days, everything went perfectly. The mountains were beautiful, the weather was perfect, and every little town we passed looked like something from a postcard. Then we made the mistake that started everything. We stopped at a gas station outside a tiny mountain town called Red Pine. While Jake was filling the car, I went inside to grab drinks. That's where I found the map. It was hanging on a wall near the register, an old paper map showing dozens of mountain roads. Most were marked normally, but one road caught my attention. A narrow route cutting through the mountains, a shortcut, at least according to the map. I pointed it out to the elderly man behind the counter. "Does this road still exist?" The man looked at the map. His expression changed immediately, not fear, something stranger, recognition. Like he wished I hadn't asked. Then he shook his head. "That road's been closed for years." I pointed again, "But it's still on the map." He stared at me for a moment, then quietly said something that still makes my skin crawl. "Some maps don't update." I laughed awkwardly. He didn't. When I returned to the car, I told everyone about the shortcut. Jake loved the idea immediately. Anything that saved time sounded good to him. By noon, we were following the route. The first strange thing happened 30 minutes later. The road appeared exactly where the map said it would. Fresh pavement, no barriers, no warning signs, nothing indicating it was closed. In fact, it looked newer than most of the highways we'd driven on. Marcus checked his phone, no signal. That wasn't unusual in the mountains. But then Olivia pulled up her GPS. The road wasn't there, not grayed out, not marked as closed, completely missing. The GPS showed us driving through empty forest. Jake joked that we discovered a secret government road. Nobody laughed very hard. Something already felt wrong. The deeper we drove, the quieter everything became. No other vehicles, no hikers, no cabins, no wildlife, nothing, just endless forest. The silence became impossible to ignore. Even the birds seemed absent. After another 40 minutes, the trees suddenly opened, and we saw the town. At first, it looked normal. Small, old-fashioned, maybe a few hundred residents, a main street, a church, a diner, rows of houses. The kind of mountain town you see in old photographs, except there were no people, not a single one. Jake parked near the town square. For several moments, nobody spoke. We just stared. The town looked completely intact. Cars sat parked along the street, store signs hung above businesses. Curtains covered windows, flower pots sat on porches. Nothing appeared damaged, nothing appeared abandoned. It looked like an ordinary town, a town where people should have been everywhere. But there was nobody, not one person, not one sound. Even the wind seemed absent. Marcus finally broke the silence. "This is creepy." Nobody disagreed. We should have left. Instead, we started exploring. The diner was the first building we entered. The front door wasn't locked. Inside looked frozen in time. Coffee cups sat on tables. Menus remained open. Condiment bottles stood exactly where customers had left them. A pie sat behind the counter, completely rotten, covered in thick black mold. Jake checked the calendar hanging near the kitchen. August 2014, 7 years earlier. The realization sent a chill through all of us. Whatever happened here, it happened suddenly. People didn't close businesses, they didn't pack belongings, they simply vanished. House after house told the same story. Televisions, furniture, family photographs, everything remained. One house still had laundry sitting inside a washing machine. Another had children's toys scattered across a living room floor. A bicycle lay abandoned in the middle of a driveway, like someone had dropped it and never returned. The deeper we explored, the worse the feeling became. Because the town wasn't ruined, it wasn't decaying normally. It felt paused, frozen, like time had stopped. Then Olivia discovered something. She shouted for us from inside the town library. We found her standing beside a wall covered in clocks. Every single clock displayed the same time, 3:17 p.m. We thought it was a coincidence, until we checked another building, and another, every clock, every watch, every digital display, 3:17 p.m. exactly, no exceptions, the church clock, the school clock, the diner clock, even a broken wristwatch sitting on a bedside table, 3:17 p.m. The same impossible time. That's when Marcus said we needed to leave, immediately for once. Everyone agreed. The sun was already dropping behind the mountains. Long shadows stretched across the streets. The town felt different now, less empty, more aware, like it knew we were there. We hurried back toward the car. Halfway there, Jake suddenly stopped. "What is that?" We followed his gaze. At the far end of the street stood a house. A small white house with a front porch, one we had already passed earlier, and now a light was on inside. We stared. Nobody moved. The house had been dark all afternoon. I knew it. We all knew it. Yet now warm yellow light glowed through the front window. Then another light appeared across the street. Then another, and another, one by one. Lights began turning on throughout the town. Porch lights, living room lamps, kitchen windows, entire houses slowly illuminating, as if invisible residents were coming home. Marcus whispered something I will never forget. "We need to leave right now." Nobody argued. We ran. The town remained silent. No voices. No footsteps, nothing. Only more lights appearing, more windows glowing, more buildings waking up. Jake unlocked the car. We jumped inside. Doors slammed shut. The engine started instantly, and for the first time all day, we heard a sound, a loud metallic clang somewhere behind us. Then another. Then dozens, like doors opening all across town. Jake slammed the accelerator. The car shot forward. None of us looked back, at least not immediately, because deep down, we already knew something had arrived, something that wasn't there before, and as Black Hollow disappeared behind us, Olivia finally glanced through the rear window. The scream she let out nearly caused Jake to crash, because standing in the middle of the road, where the town square had been, were dozens of figures perfectly still, watching us leave, and every single one of them looked exactly the same. The figures shouldn't have been there. 1 second the town square had been empty, the next, dozens of people stood motionless beneath the glowing streetlights, watching us, waiting, and every single one looked identical, the same height, the same face. The same blank expression, like copies of the same person. Olivia's scream echoed inside the car. Jake slammed the gas pedal to the floor. The tires spun across the pavement before finally gripping. We shot down the empty road leading out of Black Hollow. Nobody spoke, nobody even breathed. I kept looking into the side mirror. The figures weren't chasing us. They weren't moving at all. They simply stood there, perfectly still, watching, and somehow that was worse, much worse, because it felt deliberate, like they already knew something we didn't. After about 10 minutes, the town disappeared behind the forest. The lights vanished. The road twisted deeper into the mountains. Only then did anyone finally speak. "What the hell was that?" Marcus asked. Nobody answered because nobody had an answer. Eventually we reached a wider section of road and pulled over. The sun had fully disappeared. Darkness surrounded us. Jake stepped out first. He looked shaken, more shaken than I'd ever seen him. We all gathered beside the car, trying to make sense of what we'd witnessed. Maybe it was some kind of art project, Olivia suggested. The moment she said it, she knew how ridiculous it sounded. Nobody believed that, not even her. Marcus suddenly froze, his face drained of color. "What?" Jake asked. Marcus slowly pointed toward the back window of the SUV. At first I didn't understand, then I saw it. A handprint pressed against the glass on the outside, fresh, perfectly visible. We all stared. The handprint hadn't been there earlier. I would have noticed. We all would have, but that wasn't the worst part. The handprint wasn't normal. It only had 4 fingers, no thumb, just 4 long fingers. The shape looked almost human. Almost. Nobody said a word. We got back in the car immediately. The atmosphere had changed completely. Before we were frightened. Now we were terrified. Jake drove for nearly an hour before we finally found another road connected to the main highway. The moment we regained cell service, our phones exploded with notifications, messages, missed calls, voicemails. At first we thought it was normal. Then Marcus checked the timestamps. Every notification was from the same day, but not today's date, tomorrow's. For several seconds nobody understood. Then Olivia looked at her phone and screamed again. The date displayed on every device was 1 day ahead, exactly 24 hours ahead. Our phones thought it was tomorrow. Jake pulled over so hard the tires skidded. We restarted the devices. The date remained unchanged, even after reconnecting to cellular networks, even after syncing automatically. 24 hours missing. Gone. We didn't talk much after that. Around midnight we found a motel outside a town called Pine Ridge. A real town, a normal town, with people, traffic, noise, things that suddenly felt comforting. The motel clerk noticed our condition immediately. We probably looked like we'd seen a ghost, maybe something worse. He asked if we were okay. I should have lied. Instead, I told him the truth. Or at least part of it. I mentioned Black Hollow. The moment I said the name, the clerk's expression changed, just like the gas station owner. Recognition, fear, and something else, resignation, like he had heard that name before, many times. The man stared at us for several seconds, then quietly asked a question. "Did you stay after sunset?" The silence that followed answered for us. The clerk closed his eyes just for a moment, then he sighed. "You're lucky." Marcus leaned forward. "What is Black Hollow?" The clerk hesitated, then looked around to make sure nobody else was listening. Finally, he spoke. "My grandfather used to tell stories about that place." None of us interrupted. "Back in the 1950s, Black Hollow was a mining town." He swallowed. "There was an accident." "What kind of accident?" Olivia asked. The clerk shook his head. "Nobody knows for sure. According to local stories, something happened underground, something so bad that every resident disappeared within a single afternoon. No evacuation, no warning, just gone. The state investigated. The federal government investigated. Nobody found answers. Eventually the roads were closed, the town was abandoned, and after a few years, maps stopped showing it entirely. I felt cold despite the warm motel lobby. Then why did we find it? The clerk looked directly at me. Because sometimes people still do. Nobody liked that answer. The next morning we planned to leave immediately. Forget Black Hollow, forget everything, pretend none of it happened. But before we checked out, Marcus noticed something online. A local historical archive. One blurry black and white photograph. Black Hollow Town Square, taken in 1954. We crowded around his phone. The image showed townspeople gathered for some kind of community event. Maybe a festival, maybe a parade. The quality was terrible, but after several seconds, my stomach dropped, because every person in the photograph looked exactly the same face. The same expression, the same impossible resemblance. Dozens of identical people standing together, just like the figures we'd seen. Nobody spoke, nobody needed to. The evidence sat right there on the screen. Those things hadn't appeared recently. They'd been there since the beginning, since before the town vanished. Since before the clock stopped, since before anyone knew something was wrong. We should have destroyed the photo. We should have forgotten everything. Instead, Jake made the worst decision of our lives. He wanted answers, and that afternoon, against every instinct we had. We drove back toward Black Hollow because sometimes curiosity is stronger than fear, and sometimes that's exactly what gets people killed. Some decisions change your life forever, others decide whether you keep it. Turning the car around and heading back toward Black Hollow was one of those decisions. Even now, years later, I still don't know why we did it. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was stupidity, or maybe Black Hollow wanted us to come back because the closer we got to the town, the more it felt like we weren't making the choice ourselves. The road appeared exactly where it had before, hidden between two mountain ridges, missing from every GPS, missing from every map except that old paper one. The moment we crossed onto it, our phones lost signal again. Just like before, the forest became silent. No birds, no insects, nothing, only the sound of our engine moving through the trees. Nobody spoke for most of the drive. The closer we got, the worse the feeling became. Like we were driving towards something that already knew we were coming. Then Black Hollow appeared, and immediately we knew something was wrong, because this time, the town wasn't empty. Figures stood everywhere, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, motionless on porches, inside windows, along sidewalks. Every single one wearing old-fashioned clothing, every single one staring directly at us, the same face, again and again, an endless copy of the same person, watching, waiting. Jake slowed the SUV. Nobody wanted to get out, but we had come this far. Eventually we parked near the town square. The same square where we'd seen the figures the night before, only now they were everywhere, and yet none of them moved, not a single step, not a single blink, nothing. Marcus whispered, "They aren't people." Nobody argued. Then Olivia noticed something. A building near the center of town, the town hall, a large clock tower rose above it. The clock still displayed 3:17 p.m., but now we could hear it ticking, slowly, 1 second at a time. The sound echoed across the empty streets, tick, tick, tick. Every hair on my arms stood up, because yesterday none of the clocks had been working. Now one of them was, and it was counting towards something. We entered the town hall. Dust covered everything. Rows of filing cabinets lined the walls, old documents scattered across desks. It looked abandoned. Yet somehow not dead, like the building was still being used by something. Olivia discovered a basement door hidden behind a collapsed bookshelf. The door wasn't locked. It opened with a loud creak. Cold air rushed upward, far colder than it should have been. Jake shined his flashlight down the stairs. A tunnel stretched beneath the building, not a basement, a mine shaft. The realization hit all of us instantly. The mines, the same mines the motel Clark mentioned, the same place where something happened decades ago. We followed the tunnel underground. The deeper we descended, the colder it became. Eventually, the tunnel widened into a massive underground chamber, and that's where we found the truth. The walls were covered in photographs, thousands of them. Black and white photographs, color photographs, Polaroids, pictures spanning decades, visitors, tourists, explorers, travelers. People who had found Black Hollow. Every face showed fear, confusion, terror, and beneath each photograph, a date. The earliest image was from 1954, the newest was only 6 months old. My blood ran cold. People had been finding this place for decades and disappearing. Then Marcus pointed his flashlight toward the center of the chamber. Something stood there, a massive machine, ancient, rusting, part mining equipment, part something else. Dozens of cables disappeared into the rock. The machine looked impossible, like it had been built for a purpose nobody understood. Beside it sat a journal. Olivia picked it up. The pages were brittle with age. The entries dated back to 1954, the final weeks before the town vanished. As she read aloud, the story emerged. Miners had discovered something deep beneath Black Hollow. A strange structure buried inside the mountain. Nobody knew who built it, nobody knew how old it was, but after they uncovered it, people began changing, acting strangely, forgetting things, seeing people who weren't there. Then the journal described the faces, the identical faces. Residents claimed they kept seeing the same person everywhere. Different clothes, different voices, different names, but always the same face. Eventually, entire families reported seeing duplicates of themselves, copies, imitations, replacements. The final entry was written only hours before everything ended. 3 words, written repeatedly across the page. They're becoming us, they're becoming us, they're becoming us. Then nothing, the journal ended suddenly. The ticking stopped, silence filled the chamber, complete silence. We all froze because every instinct screamed the same thing. Run. Then came a sound from the tunnel behind us, footsteps. Hundreds of footsteps, slow, synchronized, moving toward the chamber. Marcus shined his flashlight back toward the tunnel entrance and screamed. The figures were coming, hundreds of them, identical faces, identical smiles, walking slowly through the darkness, not running, not rushing, because they didn't need to. They knew there was nowhere to go. We bolted. The chamber erupted into chaos. Flashlights shaking, footsteps echoing, pure panic. We raced back toward the stairs, the tunnel behind us filled with moving shadows. And then Marcus fell. I heard the impact, the scream. I turned around for 1 second. 1 terrible second. The figures surrounded him, blocking him from view. Then his scream stopped, completely. Gone. Jake grabbed my arm. We ran, the stairs, the hallway, the town hall, bursting through doors, running into daylight. The town had changed. Every figure now faced us, every single one. Hundreds of identical eyes watching, and standing among them was Marcus. He looked unharmed, perfectly fine, standing still, smiling, the same smile as the others. My stomach turned because it wasn't Marcus anymore. It was one of them, wearing Marcus's face. Jake drove before the doors fully closed. The SUV tore through town. The figures didn't chase us. They simply watched, just like before, watching, waiting. Then we passed the clock tower for the first time. The hands moved, the clock changed. 3:16 p.m., then 3:17 p.m. A loud metallic horn echoed through the town, the same horn we'd heard nowhere else, and every figure simultaneously turned their heads toward the mountain, toward the mine, toward whatever lived beneath Black Hollow. We never looked back. Hours later we reached civilization, real roads, real towns, real people. Marcus never came home. Police searched. No trace, no evidence, nothing. Officially he disappeared somewhere in the mountains, but I know what happened because 3 months later, I received a photograph in the mail, no return address, no note, nothing, just a picture. The image showed Black Hollow's town square. Standing among the crowd was Marcus, smiling, unchanged, exactly the same. On the back of the photograph someone had written a single sentence. Population growing. I've never returned, I never will, but sometimes late at night. While driving through remote places, my GPS glitches for just a moment. A road appears, a road that shouldn't exist, and at the end of that road, the map displays a town, Black Hollow, population unknown. If you ever find a road that doesn't appear on your GPS, don't take it. If every map says the road doesn't exist, turn around, and if you somehow find Black Hollow, leave before sunset, because the town isn't abandoned, it's expanding. And sooner or later, it's going to need more residents if you are brave enough to hear more nightmares. Subscribe to Tales of the Dark, and if you have your own terrifying experience, leave it in the comments or send your story by email. Maybe your nightmare will become the next story told here.